The crescent moon hung like a silver sickle over the ancient stones of Angkor Wat, casting a pale, ghostly light on my small village in Takeo. The air on Pchum Ben night was thick with the scent of incense and sweet frangipani blossoms. A smell I usually loved, but tonight, something else tainted the air, the fresh, metallic temps of blood. I was only 12, but the sight before me aged me in an instant. There, in a growing pool of his own blood, was Kamau, our beloved black dog. He was convulsing, his body racked with tremors, and standing over him was my father, Sophin, a meat cleaver clutched in his hand, its blade streaked with crimson. "It's just a dog, Rith," he said, his voice rough, trying to sound casual. "Dog meat for the festival. It will feed the family." Horror seized me, cold and sharp. I couldn't breathe. Kamau's dark eyes, once so full of life and affection, widened and locked onto my father. His mouth moved, but it wasn't a bark or a whimper that came out. It was a sound that was chillingly human, a rasping whisper that cut through the night. "Whoever kills the household dog will become the vessel." Just then, my grandmother, Sophin, burst from the house, her face a mask of terror. "What have you done? You must not kill our dog. It is forbidden." But it was too late. Kamau shuddered one last time and drew his final breath. An unnatural silence fell over the village. The night chorus of frogs and crickets abruptly stopped. It felt as if the entire world was holding its breath. Sophin grabbed my hand, her grip like ice. "Rith, come with me. Now. Hurry." She pulled me into the kitchen, to the small, dusty corner where the altar for the Nikta, our local spirits, stood. "Sit here," she commanded, her voice trembling. "Do not go out, and no matter what you hear, do not answer anyone who calls your name." I crouched behind the altar, my heart hammering against my ribs. Through a crack in the wooden door, I could see my grandmother and father arguing in hushed, frantic tones. Their words were drowned out by a sound that started in the distance, a chorus of barking. But it was wrong. It wasn't the sound of village dogs. It was a guttural, half-human noise that made my skin crawl. Then came a knock. Tap, tap, soft, but insistent. "Rith." A voice called. A voice that was almost my father's, but colder, harsher. "Rith, open the door for your father." I hesitated, my hand shaking as I moved to the door. I peered through the crack. What I saw wasn't my father. It was a figure, lurching strangely on two legs. One side of its face was his, but the other was covered in coarse black fur. A pair of luminous yellow eyes glowed with an unholy light in the darkness. A scream tore from my throat, and I scrambled back behind the altar, pressing myself into the corner. Just then, a deep, resonant temple bell chimed from far away. The creature outside flinched, as if struck, and with a low growl, it retreated into the shadows. The next morning, my father was gone, vanished, without a trace. Sophian, her eyes redrimmed and filled with a deep sorrow, took me to see Kru Samnung, the village shaman. He listened to her story, his face grim. "The dog's spirit has taken Sophin's body," he said, his voice low. "It will return. It will come for Rith to complete the curse." He handed me a piece of a broken tiger fang, tied to a frayed string. "This will offer some protection, but it is temporary. It cannot stop destiny." That night, my dreams were a nightmare landscape. I saw a forest made of bleached white bones. My father was there, bound in heavy chains, but it was Kamau's voice that spoke to me, echoing in my mind. "We are victims, too," it said. "Your ancestors murdered mine in the temple, a sacrifice for power. Blood demands blood, but the blood it demands is not mine." When I woke, trembling, my grandmother finally told me the truth. Generations ago, our ancestors had made a dark pact, sacrificing a black dog at the temple to gain prosperity. The entire village was complicit. To appease the vengeful spirit, the sacrifice was rotated among the families. This year, it was our turn. "If the dog is killed by its own master," she whispered, "the full curse awakens, and it demands a life in return." On the third night, he came back. It looked like my father, but his eyes were vacant, and he carried the cloying smell of decay. "Rith, I'm home," he said. But his voice was a terrible blend of human words and animal growls. His eyes began to glow, that same terrifying yellow. Blood must be repaid with blood. That is the law. Suddenly, Yi Sofan stepped between us, a ceremonial dagger in her hand. "Leave my son alone, you beast." But then, Crew Samnang and other villagers emerged from the darkness. Their faces were blank, emotionless, and on each of their hands, I saw a freshly inked tattoo of a dog's paw. "One life for the village's peace," Crew Samnang intoned. A horrifying realization dawned on me. My grandfather. He hadn't died of sickness years ago. His death had been the price for the last cycle of the curse. My father's body convulsed. He fell to his knees, and for a fleeting moment, his own voice, his true voice, broke through. Rith run, but it was too late. The villagers began to chant. Crew Samnang sprinkled holy water, and as it hissed on my father's skin, a colossal black shadow erupted from him, twisting and growing into the form of a giant dog with 1,000 glowing yellow eyes. "The curse is not mine," it boomed, a voice of ancient sorrow. "I am merely its executor." Yi Sofan pulled me close, her body shaking with sobs. "I'm so sorry, Rith. This is our fault, our family's sin." Then my father stood up. His eyes were clear, his own once more. "Enough," he said, his voice firm. "My blood will end this cycle." Before anyone could stop him, he plunged the ceremonial dagger deep into his own chest. Black blood, not red, poured from the wound, and the air filled once more with the scent of incense and frangip. The giant spectral dog wavered, then faded, its last words a whisper on the wind. One generation. At peace. The next morning, the village was quiet. I knelt by a puddle and saw my reflection. One of my eyes was still my own, familiar brown. But the other was a brilliant, piercing yellow. My grandmother found me there. "You've inherited the curse, my child," she said softly, "but you have also inherited the power to change it." Primera locate Don, and saw Kamal's shadow stretched out on the ground behind me. He felt no fear, only a strange, deep connection. Maybe the curse wasn't just about revenge. Maybe it was a warning against our own greed. That night, when the village dogs began to bark, I understood them. They weren't just barking at shadows. They were warning of a greater danger approaching. A truth the village had tried to bury 4 generations. I knew what I had to do. I had to uncover the real story behind the sacrifices. Not just to save myself, but to free all the spirits trapped by this cycle of lies. As I stepped out into the night, Kamal's shadow followed, no longer a specter of doom, but a guide. The story I'd been told was a lie, and the truth about what humans are capable of, is far more terrifying than any dog's curse. The most frightening thing isn't the black dog or the mark it left on me. It's the new feeling rising inside me, a craving I don't understand, and the patient, waiting gaze of my own yellow eye in the mirror, asking me to accept what I've become.